Welcome to the show that looks at truth, fiction, and reality with a smirk. I'm Aaron Peterson.
I'm Amanda Sink.
And I'm Zach Parkerson.
And welcome to Smirk. Each week, one of our hosts introduces an original story, which we then use as a springboard for a spirited and lighthearted discussion on whatever the moral or theme of their story was. This week, it's Zach's turn. Zach, are you excited? What are we getting out of it? What are we getting this week? Can you give us a little tease, a little taste?
Oh, some questionable morals for sure.
Excellent.
Yeah, that's what I like to bring to the table.
Are we going to dive deep into some sadness, some angst, some...
I don't feel like it's sad. I feel like I say that every time. It's not super dark.
By your standards or ours?
By America's standards or by the ISIS?
Wow, that's quite a scale.
It's not as deep
somewhere
anymore.
Into the Soviet Union.
Oh, so
somewhere kind of in the middle.
Be careful. They might interfere with our podcast results. All right. Are you ready to tell your story?
Oh, sure. And Putin, please pay attention. Gather around the campfire. It's time for a story. I've been waiting for what feels like hours, but in reality, it has only been maybe 10 minutes. George always liked to play for theatrics. Why should this week be any different? On the couch opposite me, as always, was his big buddy Carl. George and Carl. Guess I never figured just how white those names were. Every Wednesday, I've been through the same routine for months now, going way back. Carl never spoke, but maybe he wasn't allowed to speak. Maybe he got too chatty once, and George saw to it that it never happened again. Could be a stretch, but George was known for going the extra mile. He came to the table with what we all knew he had. White, powdery, crystalline. Some guys, they cut it. Baby powder, talcum, stuff like that. George, nah. George is a great many things, but I could always trust him to be straight up, which is why this mind-numbing routine always felt too long. Go ahead, George said, laying the brick on the table. You could feel his grin in the words he spoke. I pulled my knife, and sure enough, it was good to go. 2 licks in a line, I could already feel it. It's good, I told him, trying to hide my annoyance. I like you. You do good work. No complaints. My guy. He said this every damn week. Few more weeks, we're going to step you up. My boss. Swell guy, my cousin, actually. He'll see you. We could be partners, bro. Again, you could feel his glee. What the hell made Dealer so happy? Redundant question, I suppose. Mirrors were peaked, though. More money, more power, more responsibility. This is the guy I wanted to see. I could only do this 2-bit game for so long. Count me in, I told him, careful not to reveal my excitement. Would hate to give George the impression that we're friends. See ya, buddy, he exclaimed as I left. The money was already on the table as always. A wave of the hand, and I was outside. I got to my car, and I whispered to myself, finally. It would only take a couple more weeks, and I could finally meet George's boss cousin. Almost there. Soon we could begin taking down the kingpin of Coke.
Oh, it's like a New Jack City vibe.
Yeah, I try to, you gotta shift the genres every now and again.
Can I ask a very important question before we get to, the smirkishness of your story?
The smirking?
Yeah, the smirking of your story.
That's what we call it.
What, did they do the old TV thing where they take out the knife and they actually do the taste test?
Of course.
Because you can't
do it any other way.
Can't tell what cocaine tastes like by tasting it. I didn't know that was a thing, but all right.
I've seen it on every television show ever made, and that TV is real.
Absolutely. If it's on television, it's 100%.
Miami Vice was a documentary.
That's why I wore pastel suits. Yeah, still do.
To live the dream.
I mean, I still can't grow the stubble, but that's another story. I've been trying for years.
You've been trying for 4 decades now?
I actually drew it in once for a Halloween costume because I couldn't grow it. So I'm like, well, I guess I'm going to have to draw in that 5 o'clock shadow.
How old were you at this Halloween event?
33.
Drawing stubble.
Still trying to get it to come back. It just won't happen. Oh man, I like a good drug tale. I'm a big fan of those movies and stuff. So.
Yeah, I was like, we haven't done too much drug stuff yet. Where were we at with this?
I know.
We did one drug story.
We did?
Didn't your dog story have drugs in it?
I mean, it had blood.
I thought one of them was a drug dealer.
Well, yeah.
Not as detailed.
Well, I grew up around drug dealers, so I mean, if I tell you a true story, it's probably going to be there.
Yeah.
unfortunately. I never did or sold it.
Right.
Just to clarify, authorities.
That's easy profit, son.
So you've heard.
Nothing.
So you've heard.
Yeah.
Word on the street.
Allegedly.
Word on the street. I don't know why his friends call him Kingpin, but Zach's got quite
He's a really
command.
good bowler.
Well, yeah, it's capitalized. It's Kingpin of Coke. This is his name on the streets.
That's how they know him. But nobody could ever find him. It's always amazing.
Yeah, I had to catch a movie at 3:00 yesterday, but Kingpin of Coke was running late. You know.
All right, so I'm curious. Well, I guess it's up to us, right? What do you think, man?
Yeah, what do you think the moral is?
Oh, I have no idea. Drugs are bad.
Don't trust your friends, because even your friends, they got. Yeah, don't trust your friends.
Well, you know what? The moral of the story is trust.
Oh.
You're pretty close. You got it, Aaron.
You just needed to go down to one word.
I think we're gonna go ahead and let him have that one.
No. I mean, I'm gonna trim some words, and I'm going with trust.
Aaron, you nailed it.
I know. You're welcome.
Amanda
people.
over there trying to talk about how dare to be better, drugs are bad. I don't think so. That's not what we do here in Smirk.
I can't trust.
Not when
her
it's a Zach story.
Oh, that was a good story. I like that. That's fun.
Yeah.
So what do you want to talk about? Drugs?
Well, you know what? Yeah, you know what? First question: drugs. Thoughts?
Not bad.
Bad.
But I can understand when people get into them.
Well, that was a very cut and dry answer, guys.
Well, let's be honest. I mean, it really depends on the drug and the purpose and where you're at and how much you
So what if you're just doing it safely in your own home?
What kind of drugs are we
as
talking
long
about?
as Bill Cosby's not present, I'm fine with that.
Well, that's different.
Too soon? I don't know what the time limit is. I don't care. It's
I don't know,
still
if
fun.
Bill Cosby comes to my house and goes, hey, and I'm in for trouble.
I'm gonna have that in my head the rest of the week. All right, really, what's your real conversation? What do you want to talk about?
Oh, well, that was my first question. Drugs, thoughts.
Oh.
Do they, do they hurt people if you just do them on your own? What if you're responsibly taking ecstasy?
What's responsibly?
I don't know, when you're at a party, I guess.
That doesn't feel very responsible if you're around a bunch of people.
What if you only do it at parties?
Well, are you asking like the legal argument? Because as long as it's illegal, I'm against it. Are you asking if drugs were illegal? How would I feel? That's how I feel. I'm sorry. That's how I feel. Now, are you asking, how do I feel about them? Were they legal? How would I feel about them?
Sure.
Okay. Well, that's a different answer. As long as it's safe and it doesn't cause harm on other people and it's used in moderation, I don't have a big problem with it. Would I do it? No, I still wouldn't. But,
yeah.
I
mean, nor would I. I've never actually done a drug in my life.
Well, the thing that cracks me up is the hypocrisy of people. Yeah, I'm not judging anybody. I'm going to for a minute.
Okay.
So
very confusing.
Well, because people, they jump right on the bandwagon that, drugs are awful, like cocaine, heroin, all that stuff. And I'm sure it is. I don't do it, so I can't speak to the actual use of it. But we're okay with cigarettes and alcohol. So those are cool, but everything else is bad. I mean, it just feels like it's a moral superiority complex that I think we have, where we're the deciding factor of what's okay and what's not. They're all probably bad, and we should probably, if you're going to ban them all. But people have the right to destroy their own lives if that's what they want to do. I just don't like it when it affects other people.
Right. Now, you bring a good question of moral superiority, because the government tried to make alcohol legal once, and everyone just fought so hard against it. So that does seem to feel like the one addictive substance that completely ruins your thought of your state of mind and thought processes that we're all just okay with.
Yeah. I mean, I get that one. I like a good drink.
No, yeah, I'm a big fan of alcohol.
Yeah, I was on Capone's side on that one. Sorry.
Al. Good old Al.
Good old Al. Big A. That's what I called him.
I think there's a difference in the level of the drugs and how they affect you. So if you're talking about something, even ecstasy compared to heroin,
kids call it E. Thanks. You're welcome.
I don't think they call it E anymore, actually.
Oh,
they call it X.
Really? Crap.
Molly.
I'm so old.
Well, Molly and ecstasy are two different things, because ecstasy can be cut with other drugs.
Oh, look at the authority.
Yeah, someone's an expert all of a sudden, huh?
Yeah.
No, but I have, because I've had friends who have been into it. Yeah, I have friends who have done it. Okay. I've never done it. But...
All right, so we cut into your opinion.
I have a friend. This friend I know.
No, really.
Her name's Commanda.
Oh, no, I really haven't. But I feel like there's a difference on how they affect you and the level of addiction that they create and how they alter your entire life. When you look at heroin and you look at the addiction problem in our country, because it is a really bad epidemic right now, heroin affects people in a very different way. And I think until you see someone on heroin, you're not... The way that it destroys that life, I just cannot find any justification for it. I legitimately have watched a person almost die in front of me in my front yard. She was walking away from her boyfriend and she was on heroin and she was overdosing and she collapsed in my front yard. And her boyfriend left her. So
Did you roll her into the street so she wasn't on your property? Insurance protection?
Smart, Aaron. I like where your head's at.
I went out there and I helped her. And she ended up...
I would help her too, right into the street where she was cleared from all
Yeah, I'm not going to help. I'm nobody's hero.
You guys are terrible.
I would help her, just not on my property. That's all.
I would not help her, and I would not have her on my property.
Yeah, I was going to say, Zach's not doing any of that. He's going to shut the front door. I didn't see anything.
He's dragging her to the grate looking for Pennywise.
Oh, God.
Clean up my mess.
So, but I mean, I think until you see that in person and you see the way that it completely destroys someone's life, even if they're the ones who are making that choice to destroy their life and they're somehow not giving it to other people or trying to get them to do it, which they're going to do, they're also destroying their family and friends' lives because they're having to watch somebody they care about suffer from an addiction and eventually die from that addiction when that person inside of them doesn't really want to continue to do this, but their brain is so attached to this drug that they can't escape it. And I think that's where a huge disconnect is that people think, oh, well, if they're on drugs, they want to be on drugs. Well, maybe they tried it.
I don't think anybody here thinks
I was going to
that.
say there's a lot of people who do. There's a huge stigma around people with hair who
I assume all those people have never had a harsh trial in their life.
I would imagine everybody's had some sort of trial in their life that they've had to overcome.
I think judgy McJudgersons usually are judging things that they have never really understood.
Well, yes, that's true. They may have not encountered what somebody who's on drugs has, but they've all had their own experiences. People just handle them differently. And when people see someone...
I would never do drugs. I'd just yell at my kids all day.
Right. Everybody has their own form of release. But when somebody goes to a party and the reason there's such a huge epidemic is because people try it, even though they should know that you're going to get hugely addicted to it.
Oh, you're having fun.
Right. They think that our society has made drugs seem like it's fun. Somehow heroin has become like a fun, popular thing.
Okay, can I stop you for a second right there? Where is it happening that society is making heroin seem fun? Because I don't know anywhere where that's portrayed.
I've never been to a party and someone been like busting out the needle.
Yeah, it's not portrayed that way. Coke, maybe.
Coke, incredibly popular.
Coke is incredibly popular. People will do it in the back of a bar, and I've seen that a lot.
People do everything in the back of a bar.
Ooh.
Yeah. If you're having the right night, everything happens in the back of the bar.
Yeah,
but I think people...
But I don't think movies and TV and even, I don't even think that where entertainment glamorizes just about everything else, violence and cocaine and marijuana, definitely. Marijuana's cool, I can't remember ever seeing heroin glamorized and showing like this is a party drug. Every time I see it, it's like meth. It's just the worst thing ever.
Right, but you're seeing it after somebody's already completely invested in doing it. You're not seeing the beginning stage. No, I'm saying every property
I've ever seen it on television or anything else, it's not glamorized. It's just not one of those drugs.
And I'm not saying that entertainment or pop culture is glamorizing it. I'm saying people are, when they're going to do it, it's just another drug. It's just another fun drug. When cocaine is so acceptable to people who are doing drugs at a party, it's not hard to go from that to heroin because at those situations, they're just like, oh, it's just another drug. Just try it with me. You tried Coke, didn't you? You tried ecstasy, didn't you? Why don't you want to try this?
I would, and I'm speaking, this is going back to the hood days. Heroin is really the kind of drug that people take to forget. It's not a party drug. I would not agree that it was a party drug based on the people that I know that took it. It was because that's the one that will get them over the edge and it will put them where they can forget about everything that's bad in their life.
I think all drugs are that.
No, they are, but cocaine, ecstasy, marijuana, those are more, I don't want to say party drugs because that implies that you should do them to have fun, and I don't agree with that. But it's more of cleansing the soul drug. It's just, it's a sadness drug. It's something to forget my sadness. There's nothing, I'm going to have fun doing heroin. It's just, I'm going to do it. It's like meth. I do it to forget the sad things that are happening in my life. That's how I see heroin, or how I've seen people that were on it and had a problem.
That's how your friend saw it.
Yeah, that's how, unfortunately. Yes.
Well, and maybe I should clarify what I meant, because I don't think people are like, oh, this is going to be like a joy.
I think we both made our points.
I was trying to clarify.
No, clarify. Okay. Go ahead.
I was just trying to say that, not that they're like, oh, this is going to be so much fun, we're going to do drugs, yay. But I'm saying it's so susceptible when they're already doing other drugs that they're like, this is just another drug. It's just something else that I can do.
It's possible.
And that's the reason I say that, is because I have a couple close friends who have lost a lot of people to heroin addiction. And that's how they got into it, because it was just easy, and it's easy to get it. So when they're just it might not be a party. It might be like with another couple friends who are doing drugs, and somebody is like,
I bet you can order it on Uber.
On Uber?
Yeah. I think
like,
you can have it delivered.
Can you bring? Well, there are delivery services for weed, like out on the West Coast.
Are there really?
Yeah.
Sure.
In California, like they legitimately have delivery services.
That doesn't surprise me. Artists.
I don't want California to succeed already. We don't want you. Unless you're listening in California, in which case we want you.
Just not your state.
Yeah.
Just not your state. That's funny. Zach, where do you stand? You've been kind of quiet on this whole thing.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I don't really even drink that much anymore. So maybe I think I'm the boring guy.
I don't think that makes you boring. I really.
It does.
No, I get that stigma. I mean, I know why it's a stigma and stuff, but I just if you have, maybe you're just boring in general. But if you have to do drugs or drink or whatever to be interesting, that's not somebody I want to hang around anyway.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not a prude. I do drink. It's just at a certain age, the drinking catches up to you.
Yeah.
But also, it's something about having my state of mind altered. It got old to me with alcohol, and I never felt like I wanted to even try drugs because I like to be in control of my faculties.
Well, here's an important question: because you're such a joy currently, how amplified is that when you're? Because usually when people are drunk, it's a truth serum of a degree. Whatever your personality is, it's amplified. So,
Interesting.
Do you get more dour or do you get jovial?
It depends. If I'm around people, jovial. If you're alone, you get very sad.
As you should. I mean, you're getting drunk by yourself. It's just weird.
Yeah. Then you black out in your apartment and you wake up and it's 4 p.m. the next day.
And you're out of Cheez-Its.
And you're like, boy, I really got to cut back on this.
So, I have a question for you, Zach. You said that you like to be in control. You never wanted to try drugs because you didn't want to have your mind altered in some respect. So why did you drink?
They always made it seem so expensive too.
But alcohol is pretty pricey.
Right. I've been around enough alcohol to where it was affordable.
Mad Dog 2020 is $3 and you'll be fine.
So was it because it was just more acceptable and it was cheaper and I'm just curious what made you decide to do that versus like always avoiding drugs?
I mean, eventually you got to do something at these parties. Everybody else is inebriated. You can't be the only guy in the room sober. That's no fun.
Yeah, you can. I've done it. And then it's fun to watch. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm the boring guy. I don't know. But I can have a lot of fun with or without alcohol. I don't need.
Actually, the only reason I ever drink, allegedly underage, is because TV and movies made it seem so cool.
Yeah, I remember when I was younger. I went to a party and somebody was doing coke in the bathroom, and everybody was like, "Ooh, hoo, hoo," and thinking that was the coolest thing because apparently it was on TV all the time. And I'm just sitting there going, nothing about that looks cool. You look dumb. You're sitting there with your little blade cutting everything up, which I think they just do that in the movies. That's where he obviously learned it. And then he's like snorting it up. I'm like, that's not good for your nose or your.
How are your sinuses right now?
And then he just acted like a douche. And then apparently parts of him weren't working after that. That's what I heard. So,
yeah.
So I'm like, none of this fun's fun. None of it.
Wait, are you speaking from experience, Zach? Are you sure you never
did
drugs?
No, it was a friend.
A friend named Packery.
We've all got friends, Zach.
Yeah, we've all got that one friend. Wink.
All right, what else you want to do with the drug talk? You want to talk about how Nino Brown's going down?
Word. I had no idea what that means.
That's New Jack's. Oh, you kids. Young kids, I tell you.
Well, if you weren't 93, we'd be fine.
And now I'm going to rap Ice-T's song from that movie. Hustler, word up with the trigger long, grip my teeth. Oh, sorry, I'll stop. I'll just be quiet.
You barely got into it.
I know. I'm stopping.
You look so sad
if
right
lying, get out of here. If lying is something we're taught is wrong at such a young age, why does undercover work get lauded? Where is the line on lying?
Oh, you mean because undercover work gets praised?
Well, yeah, you're just lying the whole time. But you get raised in a society where you're told never to lie.
And then acting is rewarded. I mean, financially, exponentially rewarded.
I would say the difference has got to be between your intentions and the goal of what you're doing.
So moral relativity.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, that's a fancy way to word it, and also shorter. So, yeah. Thanks for being succinct for me.
Someone's got to be.
I know, right?
But a zinga. I would concur. I mean, they're doing good work. I mean, they're bringing down drug dealers, and I don't want them around. I mean, maybe it should be legal. Maybe it shouldn't.
So lying is good.
Lying is good if it's for the right intentions. If it's for something that I approve of.
Okay. Now I'm caught up.
Yep.
It's starting to sound like we just don't want kids to lie because it makes a parent's life easier.
There are some things integrity has to overrule the basic rule of lying. I really feel like if you're trying to do good and build a better neighborhood kind of thing, you're going to have to lie to get close to the drug dealer, to get close to the kingpin of Chicago or whatever.
Kingpin of Coke.
To do that, you really have to lie. You're not going to get there by showing up and saying, hello, I am an officer of the law, and I am looking for the kingpin of Coke. Is he available? Why, yes, he is right now. He's actually at the Cubs game, and you can go check him out. That's not going to happen.
Well, and
see.
What we're all referring to is the greater good theory in philosophy, where as long as what you're doing, that action results in the best outcome for majority, minusing the suffering for, the smaller individuals, as long as that is you're utilizing a greater amount, that's kind of what that theory is. But like most people usually say it's smarter. And that's really what lying and undercover work is. Because, I mean, if somebody says to you, I don't know, for example, do I look horrendous in this outfit? You're not going to say, well, yes, you do look horrendous in that outfit. You should change that immediately.
Speak for yourself.
If you're going to tell them, you're going to say something more polite. Like, I really like that other outfit on you.
And once again, speak for yourself.
Yeah, come on. Man, have we not taught you about negging yet?
Oh, no. How are you guys married?
Because we're good at it.
We're professionals.
This is so bad. Oh, I'm so disappointed. But that's what I really think it comes down to.
So I mean, it does sound like, well, for the greater good that's an interesting argument. Thanos was for the greater good.
Oh, snap!
You
like that?
That was actually, I'm grinning right now. That was good.
You only get it if you saw the movie.
I was going to say I did. But
I think everybody did.
Yeah, I really. It ultimately boils down to moral superiority. I mean, what do you feel is more important? Moral.
So it seems like you're just the cultural morals that we've put in place. So it is okay to lie, except you're told that it's not, but until you need to, in which case it is okay.
Yeah, I'm with that. I mean, there is no rule in history that doesn't have, subsections. And that's just one of those rules. Yeah, don't lie, but
there's like an asterisk there.
Yeah, there's an asterisk. There's always an exception to every rule in history. Every single, do not kill unless someone's trying to kill you. There's always an asterisk. So that's where I would land on it. It's an asterisk.
There's plenty more reasons to kill people, Aaron.
I was just naming one that was legally defensible.
Well, all right. Let's move on to George thinks he has a friend in our protagonist. Does your heart hurt for him at all? Or do drug dealers deserve to get hurt? That's a loaded question, by the way.
That is a loaded question.
You're damn right.
I've actually thought about this one a lot, unfortunately, because I've seen so many of those undercover movies where I'm like, man, that's just rude. I get the drug dealer is an awful person who's done some bad things, da-da-da-da. But every single time when you see somebody who's actually trusted someone and they turn them over to the cops or they've been snitched on or they broke their heart in some other way. I always feel bad for them, even if they're doing wrong, because that still hurts. It would hurt me, so I empathize.
I was going to say, you can still have compassion for people who do bad things. That doesn't necessarily mean, I don't think that it makes you a bad person by definition to be a drug dealer. Your circumstances got you to where you are, and there are, I'm sure, plenty of drug dealers who would rather be in a different situation if they could, but they're so far invested into it that they're not sure they know anything else, or all they've grown up around is drugs, so that's all they know. I think our society, with not having a way to help those who are living in poverty and who are living in those circumstances around drugs and addiction, we're just going to continue to foster those types of people. I don't think you can just arrest all of the drug dealers and think that the problem's going to be solved. I feel like there's a deeper sociological issue that you have to get to the root of, and that is helping those people who need help before they get to that step, which means helping children. And if we're not helping those children, then eventually we're just going to continue to have the same problem. Drugs aren't going to go away, so we have to help the people who need it before they get to that phase.
What does it have to do with the friend and the trust thing?
Because...
I see the soapbox. It's back up. It's okay.
All right.
What I would say is I had a friend whose cousin was a drug dealer when we were younger, when I was a teenager. And what he did was a bad thing, right? He sold drugs. It's illegal. He was a really good guy. Everything else I saw of him was a really good guy. He donated to a youth shelter. He was constantly helping out his friends, quote unquote, coworkers. It's one of those things where you don't want to hang out with him because you don't want to take a chance of getting shot. But every time I saw him, very nice guy. I mean, I never saw anything. I didn't see any of the seedier side of him that I'm sure is probably there. So I don't know. To me, everybody has a story and a backstory. And I think just writing them off because they committed a crime is not the way to look at it.
But you can still feel sorry for them.
Don't you think the majority do?
What? Feel sorry for them or write them off?
No, write them off.
Absolutely. I know for a fact most people do. I see them. Oh, he dealt drugs. Oh, well, that doesn't necessarily mean that he can't change or he can't do better or he didn't want to do better.
He was providing a service people wanted anyway.
There you go. It's franchising.
Got to keep those college kids feeling good.
And you see that with people who are arrested for dealing. And when they're offered a second opportunity, even if they've showcased that they're actually willing to do something different and have been they've been a different person while they've been incarcerated, but society still doesn't want to give them a second chance. Well, you did something so bad, so you're never allowed to redeem yourself. While there's a lot of hatred and resentment towards somebody who is so willing to take lives when it comes to like heroin dealers and meth dealers and things like that, but I still think that you can still hope for them to be better, and you can still try to give them resources to be better and give them more than one chance, because they probably were only in that circumstance and that was all they were offered.
Once you do the time, I'm okay with giving them another chance. So there you go.
Yeah, most corporations aren't. Turns out.
Absolutely.
No.
I mean, to a degree, I understand. I mean, you got to protect your investment. There's a lot of legal liability.
I want to quickly shout out if you don't hire somebody because they're an ex-con, you are fundamentally un-American.
Really? I'm curious. Yeah. Explain.
Because the whole prison system is built in the idea of a jury of your peers. You do the time for reformation. You get back out. You've served your time. The idea is that you're supposed to go to prison and it's supposed to help reform you and get you ready to integrate back into society. But as soon as you get out, companies like, oh, well, let's not blast big companies. Big companies just fundamentally don't hire these people because they can't take the risk. Then that means that you do not believe in America, plain and simple.
Wow. I like your argument. I don't necessarily agree with it 100%, but I'm empathetic.
I get your side and I get their side.
There's a legal I do think there's a legal I don't think. I know there's a legal liability that if they take someone who has a known record, has a known history, and they do something similar and it hurts other people in any way, shape, or form, it looks bad at them and makes them complicit in a way. Legally, unfortunately, somebody sues and, whatever. If they sold drugs if they were a drug dealer, they came to their place and they started selling drugs again and they sold them to somebody in their employment, they could get sued by their family and stuff. There's a whole bunch of legal liabilities, so they got to be very careful about felons.
But couldn't you argue, Aaron, that if you as a company have the power to help these people, shouldn't it be your responsibility to do so?
I do think you should not discount someone simply because they have a felony. I think you should take, just like everything else, you should take in the entirety of that person. Everybody's got a life story, not just one moment, not just one minuscule. It could have been a mistake. It could have been one thing. They made a mistake one time in their life and they're paying for it forever. That's not right.
Yeah.
That's true.
I could do a whole episode on prisons.
I guess you could. And then on the same token, there's people who just can't stop doing dumb stuff.
There are. Well, and I don't think that we have a prison system set up that's like, I understand, Zach, that you're saying that that's how it's supposed to be, but our system does not try to help reform them to the degree that we should.
Well, there's irony in the prison system because now it's become capitalism.
Privatized.
It is.
It's privatized. Yeah. So the irony is we're going to reform them. Because we're a corporation, we're going to reform them and send them back out. And no other corporation is going to have them. They're going to end up back here to our privatized. It's capitalism.
Keep making that money.
Yep. The hustlers, just like street hustlers, man. Same thing.
Those are the real crooks.
Ooh. Taking it to the man, huh?
I've never been a fan of the man.
I don't know him. He never lets me come over.
If I knew him, I'd punch him in the face.
Whoa.
Okay,
what
then.
a threat.
What else you got?
So that's 3 questions.
All right. Well, I feel like you want to talk about America. So where do you see...
Oh, yeah? You want to talk about America? Let's talk about America.
No, let's not. Probably not.
Let's talk about this in another episode.
Putin's listening. I don't want to take a chance.
He would love if we trashed on it.
Yeah, he probably would. And that's part of his master plan.
Well, truth or fiction, guys?
Well, I saw Donnie Brasco, so I'm going truth.
Fiction.
Donnie Brasco. It is fiction.
Yay.
Darn.
What's the name of it?
You can never know a person.
Where's the trust land for you? Do you feel like you've been violated? I don't think you answered that one. If you did, I don't remember it.
Well, yeah, no, I do. I have a very big soft spot for, I guess, criminals.
Good to know. If you're a thug,
well,
calls that.
No, it's multifaceted because here George he's doing something that everybody wants anyway, and is so open a thing, or at least I can just speak anecdotally of Chicago, that like it eventually comes to a point where like this should not be illegal because every single person I know has interacted with it in some way, shape, or form. So what George is doing should probably just be legal and taxed.
Yeah,
make money.
Yeah. So I feel bad for George because I think he's going to go away for something that I think like in 20, 30 years he probably would not go away for.
Well, that is what's happening. I mean, that happened.
I know. This is just like it's happening right now with marijuana. It's getting legalized everywhere. There are people who had to go away for decades over a freaking shrub, and it's positively ridiculous. And now he's going to get out and he can never vote again, which is absurd. He can't get a job unless he goes to some small mom and pop shops that have a kind spot in their heart, or they go through a relocation program when they get out. But those never seem to work out either. It's just the idea that people go to prison for things that everybody does is just patently absurd.
Yeah. And you know what's worse? I've seen people that had a drug habit that don't have sympathy for the drug dealer. And it's like, you're the reason that they were working. I mean, it's kind of like being mad at McDonald's for selling you a cheeseburger.
Which people love to do.
Yeah. Interesting. This is an interesting, somewhat upbeat episode of Smirk. I don't know. But I kind of want to go break out my pastel suit and see if I can paint that 5 o'clock shadow back in and get back in.
Yeah, so it uses like a Sharpie and you just kind of like keep putting dots on.
Yeah, I did. That's exactly what I did. It wasn't a Sharpie. It was like I think it was a mascara pen. Don't judge. It looked really good. If you had the lights off, it was really well done. All right. Well, as our show goes on, we'll occasionally pick listener stories to read and discuss on Smirk. If you'd like the chances to have yours read, email it to mystory@smirkpodcast.com. That's mystory@smirkpodcast.com. Real quick, we wanted to mention that we are up for a podcast award. If you're a fan of Smirk, if you want to go to podcastawards.com, that's podcastawards.com. You do a quick little setup. They just want to verify that your vote is legit. And then with every email address you have, you can vote for Smirk under Society and Culture. And if you need more information, go to smirkpodcast.com. We have a post for it to help you out. Join the conversation by joining our Facebook group or follow us on Twitter at Smirk Podcast. And be sure to use the show's hashtag Smirk. Also, please leave us a review if you're listening to us on iTunes, Apple Podcasts. I always say iTunes, even though they don't go by iTunes anymore. People still know them as iTunes. Also, Google Podcasts. We're available everywhere. We're on Spotify. Please leave us a review if you do enjoy the show. Don't miss an episode. Be sure to subscribe to Smirk on your podcast app and also share it with your friends. Tell your friends you like the show so people listen to it. Zach, you want to take us out with your drug deal story?
As you tell your own life story, always remember to tell it with a smirk.
And real quick, this is how it goes. Hustler, word I pull the trigger long. Grip my teeth, spray to every gone. Got my block, sold up my dope spots. Last thing I sweat, a sucker punk cop.
You really like to rap, don't you?
I do like to
Jim
rap.
West, Desperado, Rough Rider, you don't want nada. 6
That was great.